I believe this is video number 4. It might be 3, but you are on your last leg of creating your very own book. Yay, woo. Okay, so in this video, you're gonna need your text block. Should be all connected. You're gonna need your spine, your front and back cover. I'm using 2 different colors, but you're gonna grab your 8 by 6 inch pieces of book cloth. And then at the very end, we're gonna use those 6.5 by 5 sheets of end papers or end sheets. And then of course you're gonna need your glue, your ruler, X-Acto knife, pencil, and some throwaway sheets. Okay, so first things first, we're gonna attach our front end paper and our back end paper to our text block. So your end folio is 2 pages. This entire back page is going to be glued onto your sorry, these are hard to move. I'm just cutting it off. Make sure that's centered. Yeah, so the back end or the last sheet of your end folio is going to be glued onto the inside of this cover, and the front end folio is going to be glued on the inside of this cover, like so. Boom. Okay, so we're gonna do one at a time, but just for clarification, you're gluing the top of your text block to the inside of your front cover, and you're gluing the bottom of your text block to the inside of your back cover. So you should see your turn-ins when you're gluing. So the turn-in side is being glued to the top of your text block. So when you're done, you should see the squares on the left-hand side and on the outside of your book. Okay? So after you're done, it'll look exactly like this, and the back will look like this. Okay? If I flip it, they're still on the left side. Alrighty. So instead of applying glue to our cover and potentially getting glue on our little squares, we're actually going to put glue all over our end sheet. So I'm going to leave these exactly like this so I know which way I'm going to glue them. And I'm just going to put a protective sheet or a throwaway paper in between. This one's a little small. Let's see if I can find a bigger one. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to put a sheet of throwaway paper in between my first end sheet. So this is my end folio. I'm going to put it in between the folio to protect the rest of my text block, and I'm just going to apply some glue. So you will need quite a bit of glue, so I like to, okay, that's a lot, but I do like to apply glue directly to the page. Just scooping that up. So I like to do a line across, but you can apply glue however you see fit. Fun fact, some bookbinders have these little tiny paint rollers. I actually have one. It looks like this, so they can glue with a little baby roller. It's really dorky and cute. Back to business. Okay, so I need a little bit more glue. I'm applying glue going outwards so I don't get glue on the inside of my folio. You all know that by now. Okay, so now that that's covered in glue, I'm going to grab my front cover. So it's going to be hinged exactly like this. So all you need to do is make sure you see your turn-ins on your front cover. They'll be on the right side, and then you're gonna line up, you're gonna flip it and line up the spine edge of your front cover to the text block. And if you see some paper peeking out the top or the bottom, you just want to make it as even to the center as possible. Okay, you can remove your protective sheet. All right, so you can see my text block is even to my cover, and then I tried to center my cover as evenly as I could so there wouldn't be paper peeking out the head or the foot. Okay, and then you're gonna open this up if it's not glued together, and you're gonna burnish on the inside cover. You want to make sure that gets good and glued down. Okay, perfect. There's some overhang here because of my decal, but I don't mind. Yeah, I will cut that in a moment, so no worries. Okay, now I'm gonna do my back side. So I'm gonna flip this over like this. I'm gonna make sure my cover is, you know, facing the way that I'm gonna flip it. I'm gonna have it just like that. And I'm gonna start gluing. So I'm gonna grab my protective sheet. Put it in my book. Apply some glue directly to the page because I'm gonna be using quite a bit. If you're not comfortable doing this, you can just grab it off of, you know, your, you can squeeze it onto your wax paper or your throwaway paper on the side over here. And I'm gluing outwards so I don't get any glue on the inside of my end folio. Of course, there's a little fly in my studio. Okay, so now I'm going to just flip over my book board. Remember, if you get confused by the orientation, just remember that these squares should be facing the spine edge of the book. So now that I have my glue on, I'm going to line up very gently. I'm not pressing down. I'm going to remove my protective throwaway sheet. So first, you're going to make sure that you line up your cover to the spine. Okay, that's first and foremost. And then you want to make sure that you line up your covers to one another. So I want to make sure these are parallel to each other. Okay, and once you've done that, I'm going to press it down with my hand and I'm going to open it again, just like I did with the other side. And I'm going to burnish it with my marker wannabe bone folder. Okay. Okay, so if you look, my front cover is already bowing like this. So you're going to want to put this under weights for at least 5 to 10 minutes before you start gluing on your spine and your covers. So I'm going to put this under weights for just a couple seconds. Okay, in the meantime, you're going to grab your spine. This is what we'll be gluing on next. Okay, I'm gonna flip my book over underneath my heavy book and just let it sit for another couple seconds. At this point, guys, you should be leaving your text block underneath a heavy book or in the book presses in the letterpress studio for quite a while. Traditionally, you would make your text block, put it all together like we just did, and you would leave that overnight, and you would also leave your spine overnight so that everything dries as flat as possible. If you look at my book here, my sample book, you can see that this front cover bowed much more than this back cover, and that's because I did not put these under weights before I put the spine on. And that may not seem like an issue, but when I try to open my book, okay, it's not doing it now, but sometimes when you try to open your book, your first folio catches underneath that bow, so you're not able to open it as easily. Anyways, yeah, just killing time while this dries. Okay, So that's looking okay. I'm gonna work quickly so I can put it back under weights. So before I put my spine on, I'm gonna cut any excess paper that hangs outside of my covers. You don't have to cut any excess paper other than what is glued to the cover, okay? Okay, so you're gonna open up your first end folio like this, and you're gonna lay it flat, and you're gonna cut away any excess paper. You're gonna do so very lightly so you don't accidentally cut your cover. So even though this is paper, I'm going very lightly. And you also want to make sure it is dry, otherwise you're gonna drag the paper and it's gonna tear the paper like it did right here rather than cut it. Okay, so that's my front cover. It doesn't look like anything else on the top, bottom, or foredge is hanging out. Do not cut anything on the spine edge, of course. Now I'm gonna flip it over and I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna open the last end sheet and flip it open. And I'm gonna cut away any excess. The reason we're cutting this away is because we're gonna wrap our covers, and if there's anything hanging, we're gonna have a really weird and hard time turning these over. So I'm cutting my excess away. Okay, so now there shouldn't be anything sticking out from my covers. As you can see, the paper in between the covers does have some deckled edges and is sticking out. I tend to like that look, so you shouldn't do anything to it, honestly. We've already glued everything in, so we're gonna keep it as is. Also, our book cloth is going to give us like an extra millimeter or so of thickness on the edge, so that'll be covered up even more. So don't worry about that. Don't go crazy and cut your deckled edges off. It looks nice. Okay, so now we're gonna glue our spine on. So your spine is going to go about 1 inch, or as long as it is. Mine is about 1 inch. Yours might be a little bit longer because your spine itself is thinner. But your spine is gonna go sort of saddled on top of the spine edge of your text block, just like that. Just for reference. Okay, now we're gonna prepare our spine for gluing. So instead of applying glue to this entire section, we're only gonna apply glue to half of each section. If you look at the example, this area where you see my little green squares is not glued down. Only half of the book cloth is glued down to the cover. So that allows us to open our book flat. If this was glued down, we would not be able to open our book flat. Okay. And that's really important if we have books with images. And there are other methods to do this. This just like the most appropriate for the class. So I'm gonna move my protective throwaway sheet to the side, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna mark a 1/2 inch. Let me get my 1/2 inch ruler. So earlier, in an earlier video, I showed you how to make, or I told you how to make a paper ruler that's 1/2 inch in width, and it's about 9 or 10 inches in length. Because we measured multiple 1/2 inch sections in this demo. So what you're gonna do is on side A and side B of your spine, you're gonna measure 1/2 an inch in from the left. Okay, so 1/2 an inch in from the left on side A, and 1/2 an inch in from the right on side B. So I'm mirroring exactly what I just did on side A, on side B. So I'm going in from the right 1/2 an inch. So this is why the 1/2 inch ruler, paper ruler, comes in handy. Okay, so I don't have a bone folder for this next part, so I'm gonna use an awl, but you're gonna use your bone folder. Along those lines you just made, you're going to score, or crease is a better word, your spine. So you're gonna do that along the line on side B and along the line on side A. Okay. Okay, perfect. So this is what your book cloth spine should look like. There should be a 1/2 inch line that comes in on the left, and then a 1/2 inch line that comes in on the right side. So now we're gonna glue in the section, the 1/2 inch section. So I'm gonna mark an X where you need to glue. So we're gonna we're gonna glue within here and within here. So once again, I'm going outwards towards, or like against the, no, sorry. I'm going towards the edge, like I'm brushing away from the edge. So I make sure I don't get any glue on the inside or the exposed side of my book cloth. I'm kind of going in with 2 light layers. This way it can be really sticky. Okay, so now you can see where my glue is. So you can pause here to do that to your spine. I'm going to show you next how to apply it to your text block. So I'm going to saddle my spine around my text block, and I'm just going to press it down like this. I want to make sure that it's even, that both sides are even to each other or parallel to each other like this. And you can easily move them for a minute or two before they glue down. And you want to make sure it's not super tight in here. So you want to make sure there's like a millimeter of space between the spine edge of your text block and your spine. And you can do that, you can check that just by opening up one of your sides. So my spine is not totally adhered yet, so I'm going to close that back up. And I'm going to grab my bone folder and I'm going to burnish a lot. I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to do the back side. So I'm making sure to get that edge right here. This is holding my entire book together. So I really want to make sure I apply a good amount of pressure and I burnish down. Alrighty, that looks pretty good. Okay, so I would put this under weights for another 5 minutes or so. The way you're gonna do that is you're gonna hang the spine off the edge of your table or whatever you're pressing it on. So I'm gonna act as if this is the edge of my table. You're gonna hang your spine off. You're going to make sure everything that you glued, so that 1/2 inch is under weight. You're just going to hang the very end of the spine off. Okay. And then again, pretending this is our table, then you would put a heavy book on top. For example, leaving the spine exposed, but you're still covering that area that you glued, like that. Okay, so I'm gonna put this under weight for just a couple seconds. You can leave it under there for as long as you wish before moving forward.